to welcome you this evening to the Candidate Forum, October 2012 edition. I'm Chuck Slittler. I'm with the Fairfax Industrial Association, and it's my privilege to act as host this evening. The event tonight is being sponsored by the Chambers and KCK, the NBRs, also known as Neighborhood Business Revitalization Associations, and the Independent Business Associations in KCK. All of these are listed on the back of your program. We want to thank the Kansas City, Kansas Community College for allowing us to use the Performing Arts Center and the audiovisual staff for their work and help. Appreciate that, folks. We want to thank you for attending this evening, candidates for coming and participating, and want to remind the participants that tonight is not a debate. It is an opportunity for those here tonight or those that will view the rebroadcast on YouTube or education and community access channels to hear the candidates' views on issues based on questions put together by members of the co-sponsoring organizations. Also, please note we have asked there will not be any videotaping tonight other than the KCK Community College Media Services Department, as our time frames are very short and we do not want any interruptions of the candidates' remarks. All of the candidates have been advised of this, and we will be making copies of tonight's event available to them next week. We want to thank the question moderators. They are Merle Bland. He is the Executive Director of Business West, an independent business membership-based business organization, an independent membership-based business organization, I apologize. Their primary membership includes businesses along the State Avenue, 78th Street corridor. Merle is the founder of the Wyandotte West News, Piper Press, and currently writes for the Wyandotte Daily News. Also, Melissa Bynum, who currently works as a community organizer for Wyandotte Incorporated and as community outreach and program director of the Shepherd Center of KCK. She is the former executive director of Leavenworth Road Association, former publisher of the Wyandotte West, and currently serves as president of the KCK Downtown Shareholders and NBR in the Downtown District. I'd like to now outline the format for the evening. Candidates will be introduced in the coin toss order that was determined backstage. When introduced, each candidate will have 2 minutes to make introductory comments. Timekeepers in the front will give a warning with a yellow sign when 30 seconds are left and 15 seconds left. Timekeepers will show a red sign when it is time to stop. All right, thank you, folks. After candidates have given their introductory remarks, moderators will then take over and ask questions. For each question, the candidate will be allowed up to 1.5 minutes to answer. Again, they will receive a yellow warning sign at 30 and 15 seconds, and then a red sign to stop when it is that time. Moderators may ask follow-up questions. Questions were determined, again, in advance by the moderators and the sponsoring organizations. A few minutes before the end of each session, questioning will stop, and each candidate will be given 2 minutes to make a closing statement in reverse order of the introductory comments. We will again give the 30 and 15-second warning yellow signs and the red sign to indicate stop. There will be a 5-minute break between each set of candidates. Now I'd like to introduce to you this evening for House District number 31, and please note that District 31 is a new district formed in the 2012 redistricting process. Luis Ruiz had been the incumbent in District 32. The candidates this evening are Luis Ruiz, Democrat, and is Tim Kelb, is he in the audience? If so, Mr. Kelb, if you'll come forward. Should a candidate not appear, we will go forward with the questions so that the present candidate can share their views. Mr. Kelb. All right, Mr. Ruiz, you have your opening 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chuck. I'd like to thank the Chamber, the Kansas City, Kansas Community College, those in attendance this evening. Melissa, Merle. Thank you for your patience. What's going on this year, what you've seen on televisions and also heard on the radio. Candidates, sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's not. It can be a necessary evil at times. My name is Luis Ruiz. Right now I represent the 32nd District. That's Northeast Wyandotte County. It's Rosedale, Armourdale, part of Russian Hill, Polish Hill, and Strawberry Hill. My district has changed. Now I'm picking up 3 precincts in the Argentine area, so they moved me to the west and to the south. So I'm picking up parts of Argentine, the Maple Hill area up around 34th Street, and the Sacred Heart Parish, and over to Junction City. That's new territory for me, and I'll be proud and hopefully be able to serve them as well as I have the former 32nd District as a whole. I've been in the legislature 8 years, was elected first time in 2004. I served on the Commerce and Labor Committee. I was ranking member on that committee for 4 years. I was ranking member on the Disaster Recovery Committee after the 2007 tornado and floods in southeast Kansas and the tornado in Greensburg. And right now, as I serve currently as a ranking member on the CAPERS Pensions and Benefits Committee. It's been my honor to be the leading Democrat on these committees because we've had some pretty trying issues coming to the state legislature, and we've also been able to work across the party lines to get some good legislation done, get some good policy making done despite and in spite of what's been going on this past 2 years in the legislature. Again, I'd like to thank you all for being here this evening.
Good evening. The first question is specifically, how would you propose to balance the 2014 budget in this next legislative session if there are significant shortfalls? And a couple of options are make across-the-board cuts in every division, extend the temporary sales tax that was passed in '09 of 0.4 cents, cut specific department budgets, and if so, which ones, or perhaps you have another idea.
I think the main issue that we have to do as policymakers is make sure that our money and the taxpayers' money is spent as best as it can be and as effective as it can be. When we look at education funding, for example, the current budget and the analysis that it goes for, we've cut education almost possibly more than we possibly should have. We're going to have some shortfalls coming this year, and the projected balance of the budget is not going to be happening this year. I think there was an article in this morning's paper or yesterday's paper that Brownback has admitted there's going to be some deficits in his tax budget analysis that's going to come up to almost $4 billion by the year 2018. We realize we have to cut. Nobody likes to pay taxes. I'm almost positive that the sales tax increase that we voted on several years ago is going to be extended. I know in Wyandotte County there was a sales tax increase of 1 cent or 1% a couple years back that has helped facilitate not raising property taxes. Balancing the budget is very tricky, one idea versus another. You have to bring in income in order to serve the people of the state better, and you hopefully do not have to increase any taxes of any type. Nobody wants a tax increase.
Small businesses create the majority of new jobs in our country. Specifically, Luis, what would you do to help small businesses increase the number of jobs?
I think, excuse me, education is key for small business. The ventures that they take as far as being able to engage internationally and nationally, as far as across state lines, education is key for us to be able to compete and get students and be able to staff these jobs. Small business as a whole, we're hoping that they continue to be the backbone of economic growth in the state and the country. I know that they're talking about the increased expenditures because of the health care issues. Some small businesses said that's really not going to help them at all. The way they increase is due to demand and due to need of their product and their business. And hopefully with the proper growth and the proper assessments that we can do across and evaluations of what their needs are of our communities, we can grow our businesses accordingly. We see the businesses out here in the West growing leaps and bounds exponentially. And I feel that the small business can partake in that. We have quite a few small businesses that already are growing by leaps and bounds out in the western part of the state, and then they're also growing around the Kansas area and also in my district over by KU Medical Center.
Knowing how education is funded now, what would you do as a legislator to fund K through 12 in the future? Would you keep the current formula or would you change it? And if so, how?
Well, the current formula is always subject to change, and we've seen that because of the base rate reduction that was brought through the appropriations this last year. When you look at the base rate appropriations, that is the bottom line figure that takes to fund each student for appropriate, or I think the terminology is adequate education funding. Now, if you lower that, you're going to put yourself in a deficit. So we have to re-examine exactly what the needs are and listen to the people that are in the field, the superintendents of school boards, the teachers, of what their demands are, what their needs are, and then we have to look at the test scores of our students and find out if there's some shortcomings, how we can further assess what's going on and what the needs are so we can help fund that appropriately.
With the state being the major source of funding for K through 12 education, how do you believe K through 12 accountability of outcomes should be measured? Through state assessment scores, ACT scores, graduation rates, assessments of teachers successful in achieving student success, or other ideas?
I feel the combination of all the above could probably be appropriate. We have good teachers. We have people who know the students and have seen them rise and some fall. We have successes and failures in any type of business system. As we look at the school system that we have right now and our ability to compete, we're looking at possibly the way that we're grading. I know that in USD 500 we've kind of changed our grading scale to make it a little bit more fair across the board because of the lack of maybe some of the supplies and fundings that we don't have in Wyandotte County versus what our neighbors to the south have. And when I was growing up and I looked at some of the tests that I took and what they were based on, I was kind of at odds on not knowing what the questions were because I had no realization. My realization was different than I would say a lot of people were who came from a different type of background. So I think we all have to access equal testing for students and maybe accommodate some of the students that may have a harder time and not hold everybody to the same standard. We have to raise the standards at the bottom line in order to be able to achieve to compete.
Representative, Wyandotte County has many jobs now that require technical skills, with more of these kinds of jobs coming in the future. Can you tell us what you've done as a legislator to ensure that our citizens are educated to take and succeed in these jobs, as well as jobs that we don't even know exist yet?
Sure, that's a good question. One of the things that we've done, and I've kind of spearheaded when I was delegation chair, was to bring the educational people together along with the business people and see what their demands are, what their needs are for the future. Curriculums that are coming into our county are important. We're looking at the Cerner project with the jobs, 4,500 jobs that are coming there that are very nice jobs. We're hoping that our business industry and our education industry can get together and develop curriculums so that we can get those jobs that we're not being strictly populated from out of state or out of the country. It is hard right now because of what's going on as far as national funding. I know the No Child Left Behind has left a lot of people in dire straits as far as local education because they set a standard that was an unfunded mandate. So that's kind of put people in the bind as well. But I think if we get the two sides together to talk and dialogue and then set up curriculums and then also ask the Cerners and the people that are coming in to help fund these, I think we'll be able to compete on the open market.
What do you believe the top 3 responsibilities of the position that you are seeking are?
Number one is to serve the people that hire me, and that's the voters of Wyandotte County and in my district. Serve the greater Wyandotte County, Kansas, and the state of Kansas to make good policy. And also to be able to negotiate across the party lines to come up with a good way to help the state of Kansas grow. Right now we're struggling with different perceptions and different needs from around the state, a lot of competition. But we have to be able to voice our priorities from our district, from our people, from our voters, and how they're helping the state grow as a whole. And I think that's a tough message because some people, it's hard to get that message across to them because they're so, I would say, centrally minded or narrowly focused and don't see the big picture as far as growth in the state of Kansas.
Representative, tell us about your qualifications and experience that you believe make you an effective legislator.
Could you repeat that, please?
Tell us about your qualifications and your experience that you believe make you an effective member of the legislature.
Thank you for repeating that. My background, before I was elected to office, I served on several boards around the Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, and also Kansas City, Missouri area. I served as chair of the Kansas City Public Television's Board of Advisory Board. Also served on their corporate board, and that took me to a national position with the National Friends of Public Broadcasting. Also served on the board of United Way of Wyandotte County. I served on the Human Relations Commission, served on the Bridging the Gap Board, served on the board of Campfire. Years ago, I was a PTO president of my children's school at Holy Name, and also on the parish council. So I have a background in community service, and when I started running, running for an office, the first office I ran for was a union representative for the communication workers. That gave me a union and a pretty diverse background. I kind of melded all these together and got involved in different volunteering aspects of the community with different campaigns from President Clinton to Congressman Dennis Moore and also local campaigns. So my background has been very diverse, but I've always been very community and service oriented and hoping to serve the public the best I can, not only the generation or the community as a whole, but certain specific groups of the community.
Thank you.
Do you support the current Kansas law that allows in-state college tuition for undocumented immigrants? If so, why? If not, why not?
That's an excellent question. I've supported that law for 8 years. I've had to get up and debate the maintenance of that law. It seems hard for me to believe and understand why we would educate our students for 12 years, and this being, the United States being their home, it's the only home they know, and then all of a sudden tell them they're not welcome. All of a sudden tell them that because you have a different background, or your parents have a different background, with no responsibility of your own, we're not going to help you get in-state tuition. What people don't realize, we're not giving them anything. They're paying a lesser rate. They are paying for that tuition rate, which allows them, if they live here 3 years, if they attend a high school or a junior college, they're entitled to that by residency. I've had debates with several people about, well, you're giving them, we're paying their way to school. No, we're not. We're allowing them to pay the rate as an in-state resident. So I will continue to support that.
Thank you. One more. How about kind of moving over to your area where you represent? Would you support the continuation of the state's National Cancer Institute funding for KU Medical Center?
That's a perfectly timed question. Yes, and I'm here tonight because I almost didn't make tonight because my brother, who has multiple myeloma, which is a form of bone marrow blood cancer, almost died this weekend. He just got pulled off life supports yesterday. I talked with him today. Any type of improvements that we can do for research in the cancer research industry, I would support wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Mr. Ruiz, you now have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Thank you, Chuck. Again, it's a privilege for me to be here this evening. I've looked forward to this, being able to come and speak to the audience tonight. There's a lot of good things happening in the state of Kansas and a lot of things that are challenged. As we saw what happened in the primaries to the south of us, as we see what's going to happen possibly to some of our great legislators in Wyandotte County, the debate is who's going to lead the county, who's going to lead the state better. It's far-fetched that we as Democrats are going to be leading the state, but we still want to have a strong voice there. We still want to be have an equal balance. on what's going on. We don't want to have a boss there in the House in Topeka. We want to have somebody that's a leader. And right now, I think we are struggling with the perception that we have a boss because of what he's trying to choreograph as far as the state Senate, the House, and we're going to try and do as much damage as we can with getting more Democrats elected in the House. We have a good delegation that represent Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas. We're hoping to improve our relationships as we go forth into the next session. There's going to be some good debates. I won't say debates because this is not a debate. There's going to be some good dialogue later on this evening. I hope that most of you stick around for that. I know there's going to be a lot of challenges. Who deserves your vote and who doesn't. Be strong. Vote who's best, who represents your values, who represents the growth that you want to see happen in Wyandotte County. And I think you have seen what the Wyandotte County delegation has done in the past because of the growth out west, because of the growth we see around KU Medical Center, because of potential growth in our school districts and with how they're doing. And the industry wants to come into Wyandotte County. Overall, people are a little hesitant about coming into Kansas, but we as Wyandotte County, we do shine. And we are an envy of the whole legislature down there because Wyandotte County, we sit together and we are very proud of where we come from. And I'm getting ticket here to stop. So thank you very much. I appreciate spending my time and you're spending your time with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz.